As it was running, it was throwing a bunch of errors. Crank it.
I just turned it off because I wanted to tell you that.
Because you got scared.
What did you do?
I turned off the cam sensor, so it's running in batch fire right now.
Oh, it is.
Key on, please. 46, 45, 44, 43. Lock it down.
Is that where you like it?
Yep, I like it there.
Okay. All right, lock down. I decided to enlist the help of Andrew Borodin, who is the guy I'm talking with on the phone. He's an online tuner / troubleshooter that works with Holley EFI and uses TeamViewer to access your computer for setup, tune, and troubleshooting. For me, it's money well spent. I'll leave his info in the description if you're interested. As you heard, the dreaded cam / crank sensors were sending erratic signals. Not sure what the problem is yet, but I'll start by replacing both. In the meantime, and to keep the show going, he disabled the cam sensor and resorted to batch fire, which doesn't need it. Before it was started, I had to sort out a few problems. One of them was a small fuel leak. You can see the fuel seeping out a bit where the injectors meet the rails. It was important to fix this because it just kills the fuel economy. Turned out I made the rail brackets at the incorrect angle. They need to be pointed inward about 10 degrees. This particular fast manifold isn't really made for short LS3 injectors, so that's why I had to make the brackets. After the brackets were reworked, it leaks nary a drop.
All right, go ahead and crank it.
Can you hear it? That might be good. Let me just keep looking at the temperature on that number one. Now, still not working. Sounds pretty good for 7 cylinders though.
Oh God, you'd be shocked how good these things sound on 4.
Well, it's 100 degrees. Nah, it should be. The other ones are like way up in the high hundreds.
150 approaching 200.
Yeah, they're 200.
You know, the longer the engine runs, the less useful that information becomes because everything starts getting hot.
It's dead. Should I pull the plug?
Sure.
The pulled plug was dry as a bone. The number 1 and 3 injector wire was switched, and that determined that it was an injector problem, so all 8 of them were sent back to Dietz Works for evaluation. Maybe there's a blunt stuck in there. Because of the physically wide transverse transmission, the 30 spline axles have to be really short, like 11 inches total. The material used is called high tough and has the hardness between 4340 and 300 M. I think it turned out pretty nice. Two axle boots head-to-head require more room than the short axles give, so the boots were trimmed down, which probably voids the warranty. This is the easy side. And this, well, this is the not so easy side. After the CV joints are packed, this is the messy side. Wheels with the most negative offset were used to enable the longest axle possible and keep the 275/50 tires under the stock fenders. It would have been easier to just widen the track and add fender flares, but that's not my style. To mount the seats, I first made a rigid fixture that mimics the precise bolt pattern of the seat brackets. Centering lines were drawn onto the floorboard and fixture to align everything side to side. After the holes were drilled into the floor, 3/4 inch by 120 wall tubes were bolted to the fixture and placed into the floor holes. These tubes act as the appropriate spacing to level out the seat brackets and give the right amount of incline to the seats. Using the floor may not give enough support for an off-road race car, but it's plenty for this application. The rear mounts, where all the weight is, go through the factory seat stiffener structure. After the fixture is placed where I think I liked it, the tubes were welded top and bottom to the floor. I made a shifter pedestal for the B&M Pro Ratchet shifter that bolts to the floor using the same spacer tube method as used in the seats. It sits a little above the floor to allow room for carpet, really hating the front cable exit. I decided to go full deluxe and use adjustable seat sliders. Here, 5/16 18 TPI bolts were tack welded into the tracks to make it easier to get the dang things in and out of the car. The seats have to be mounted as low as possible, unless of course you're a munchkin. With the bolts welded into the tracks, the seat assembly just drops in. I made these seats from, well, actually I didn't make them, I bought them. They're Corvair, and I think they use Corinthian leather. The wife wanted to keep the factory bench seat to make room for a picnic basket. Mounting gas pedals is no joke. It's not that it's hard, but that the location where the work is done is just awkward. To simplify this, I made the bracket in 2 pieces. Wiring. Here's how I do Deutsch connectors. Dial the wire size, which tells the crimper how deep to crimp. Stick the terminal in the crimper and adjust it to where it is flush with the top plate. So what's special about the way this crimper works is that it crimps on 4 sides. On ring, spade, and butt connectors, I use non-insulated high-temp terminals. They are made of nickel-plated steel and are just simply more robust than softer copper or brass terminals. I don't bother with pre-insulated terminals and instead use adhesive-lined heat-shrink tubing, either double or single wall, depending on the situation, that I get from ProWire. The final connection is waterproof and super durable as the heat-shrink tubing helps tie the connector to the wire jacket. As I said before, I'm using a Holley Terminator X-Max so I can control the transmission and drive-by-wire throttle body. But with the difference being that I'm using the HCR Innovations harness made by Devin Vanderhoof. Wiring isn't difficult, but it's fussy and time-consuming, and that's probably why professionals charge so much. Some of the smaller terminals are tiny and it's easy to f them up. A lot of the wiring that's in the car now is temporary. I want to get everything in its final location before I tidy it up. This last bit here is adding the woven outer layer for abrasion protection. Sealed with heat shrink tubing, it makes me look like a wiring expert, which I am not. So it's running, and for real this time. I need to increase the number of cylinders it's actually running on though. Things left to do. Get the engine run clean, tune the transmission, mount the air-cooled heat exchanger, make a radiator shroud, cut a hole in front of the air to get the radiator, mount the air-cooled heat exchanger, make a radiator shroud, cut a hole in front of the air to get the radiator, fix your location, make your partition, the body thing. Things left to do are get the engine run clean and tune the transmission, mount the air-cooled heat exchanger, make a radiator shroud, cut a hole in front of the air to get the radiator, fix your location, make a radiator shroud, cut a hole in front of the air to get the radiator. Things left to do are